Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
In the 1980s, the late 1980s that is, the Ministry of Agriculture added to its list of priority commodities that included the cut flower program, which is called the Floral Program. A number of planting material were distributed to farmers. Those planting material were the red ginger lily and pink. They were distributed to farmers based on the ecological zone. That is where the plant can thrive best in country. As a result, the farmers were given technical assistance from the ministry, and also that included fertilizing, pest management, and also selection of blooms for marketing. The floral industry, in other words, the Floral Cooperative Society was born. Where is that society today? I can recall there were a number of shipments that were done to the UK, Canada, the US. Of course, our quality of blooms were very good. As a result, the orders were high. We were talking about a container of blooms weekly, which of course we could not touch. Maybe why the banana industry dominated at the time, so farmers saw it fit maybe not increasing their acreage. The journey of the floral industry in this country, where we at. With me in studio to discuss this is the president of the St. Lucia Floral Cooperative Society, Mr. Angus Philogene, and also Ms. Vita John, who is the immediate past secretary of that association. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Mr. Philogene, can you tell us, where is the floral industry in this country to date from your society point of view?
The industry, and there are two facets of the industry perhaps that we can speak to. One, the industry as it relates to the domestic sector, and the industry as it relates to export, and you alluded to exports in your introduction. If we deal with exports, because in principle, the thrust of the cooperative is to try to obtain markets and as large a market as possible. So the cooperative really has been exploring, and you did mention, and I will come back to that, you did mention we had exported, but currently we are exploring markets specifically in Martinique, where there was a strong interest, that perhaps is still a very strong interest for hybrid anthuriums. And the second strong area that we're looking at is Canada. There is also a third, which is the country that you mentioned, the United Kingdom, where we are actually part of the OPSR through the Trade and Export Promotion Agency. The TIPA has a program of Taste St. Lucia, where the cut flowers is actually one of the products that is going to be put on the, attempt to get markets on the UK market. Okay. So that is where we're at. I must say, and you've been in agriculture long enough to know, one of the drawbacks organizations, all organizations, agricultural organizations clearly faces is that unless you're actually selling a produce, it is very difficult to get producers to keep producing. Unless you actually have the market, yes. It's very difficult to get producers to actually produce that particular produce. The other side of that coin, as you know, which is sometimes it's a double-edged sword in that when you have the market, when others see that there is a market, sometimes others come on to provide for the market in a disorganized way, and sometimes you compromise quality and you end up losing the market. So there's that aspect.
Okay. Ms. Vita John, I know you've been involved in the cut flower production for many, many, many years, of course, tutored by my good old friend, Mr. Dixon, who has now passed. I can remember him very, very clearly involved in that market. You have been associated with the cooperative for years now. Where is the cooperative now in terms of your membership, and also what plants that are you growing that are dominant now for the market?
So far, we have a membership of 50 plus, yes, at that point in time. And the flowers that we really grow for shipment is ginger lilies, anthuriums, heliconias, well, and orchid to a
extent,
yes,
which is a new thing on the market right now. Okay, as far as your local market is concerned.
And also, without cutting you short, foliage.
Okay, yes, which are
foliage.
Locally, is there still a demand for your cut flowers locally in terms of the florists creating the bouquet for weddings and also for at the hotels?
There is a demand for cut flowers locally, but at that point in time that some hoteliers feel they're still into that plastic flowers. Okay. Yes, they want to, cut of course, and they want to use plastic flowers. And this is one of the things that the Ministry of Agriculture should assist us with the Floral Society, so that they can, make use of it to help the farmers and with the economy of the country. Yes.
So apart from that, the artificial flowers, are you saying that do they import plants, flowers?
Flowers, the importation, since the floral industry has come on board, you find it have helped to eliminate or reduce the amount of importation of cut flowers. Okay. What they would mostly import is things like roses, baby's breath, and and chrysanthemums and things that we don't produce. Okay. Where we need to look into our own, what we have on the island, our native, and other things that can supplement, not Balisier, but other plants that out in the forest, or where we need to do research, where we can, utilize these flowers, these plants, you understand, to replace, to replace
an example is baby's breath, for instance. Okay. We may not have baby's breath here, but I think Vita has identified something that perhaps can be nurtured as a replacement. And for instance, quite a lot of baby's breath is imported. Not that we are saying that we are saying that the florist should use something else in place of, but I think what it would be incumbent perhaps on some of us to do is to show how we can have our indigenous arrangements, because sometimes we tend to copy other persons, what other people do. But if we can show how we can use some of what we have, and how it can be made to have impact. Because at the end of the day, the guests, for instance, particularly at hotels, what they're looking for is impact.
That's right.
So it is how you use what you have that matters. But as Vita said, it requires research. To actually, some research, to go out and see what there is. And we know there are things out there. And secondly, we need to see how it can, when it's grown on the
shelf life,
as well as later on testing for shelf life.
You mentioned roses, the imported. Are you saying that we cannot produce roses at that level in St. Lucia?
I think roses can be produced. What I can say to you, actually, it's interesting you brought up one particular flower, and that is roses. Roses actually, when we look at flowers generally, flowers are actually event specific generally. Roses in particular is actually Valentine's Day as an event specific.
That's correct.
What that says too, and we have to look at that from the perspective, and we're speaking of the floral industry, what that says too is you're looking at a very small window. Now, from a business point of view, if you could make 90% of your profit in 1 month and subsidize the rest of the year, that's not a problem. But in our case, because of our volume of production, by definition, will always be low. We have to see how we can use, and we can grow roses. To answer your questions directly, we have grown roses and we can. Although roses do have, there are problems with growing roses, but like anything else, it is not beyond us to resolve the problems. But secondly, an interesting thing too, though, with roses, and again, Vita, I know, has a very strong interest there, is that we identify roses with Valentine, but there's nothing to suggest that we cannot identify the ginger lily with Valentine.
Hold that point. We due for a break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Papier bon marché. Qui ça qui arrive ou? Pas acheter rien à la main. Choc moi dou. Moi ouais.
Moi carré c'est chimé. Le travail, les mains ouais choc. A souper après mon là.
Hey!
Si vous achetez manger volé, animaux volés, poisson volé, ou pétoi péco capé à la main $10,000. Ou paye même pour 2 ans l'argent pour ça. Ni ou, ni choc.
Est-ce que vous avez un enfant là? Où est mon goût, moi? Hein?
Tout là, sous fait un chiffre, n'a quoi escort police là-bas ou à présent. Même.
Maman qui chanson.
Pas toucher moi. S'ouvre une chance, on y pour confesser.
N'a confessé bah oui, moi.
Et vous-même, Janet, si pani sous tout pani volé. Lâchez-moi.
Radio larceny is a crime. Let us all fight it.
A message from the Predial Larceny Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture and Mamai Moshi.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move, and today we're discussing the floral industry in St. Lucia. And of course, right before me is my nice bouquet. It's a plant really, it's an orchid plant and with various blooms, and of course that has light up the GIS studio. So Mr. Philogene, we're talking about the roses. I know in the past, I'm not sure for now, but in the past, roses were imported specifically for the hotels also. Apart from the Valentine's Day, they were imported for the hotels. And also, I think at one time there was a florist that were also doing the cruise ships, okay? So are you saying that you all cannot be dynamic enough to maybe revisit that market?
Yeah, I must say also that we have grown, one or two of our members have grown roses on a large scale. I don't know that the hotels are continuing to use roses on a regular basis in rooms. Okay. I think now with orchids, and I think more so even with gingers, and we now have hybrid anthuriums. I believe now there are available readily in St. Lucia other flowers that are more regularly used within the hotels in the rooms. I think generally roses tend to be a more expensive product.
It is.
You know, so again, and Vita was intimating that some hotels even want to, and God forbid, want to use artificial flowers.
Yes.
That I don't think they would really, that they can afford to use roses, you know, on a sort of large scale within rooms. If anything, I think they would go for our local flowers, because that actually is the cheapest option for them.
Okay.
You know, some of them, as you know, even have their own. They grow. They attempt.
Yes, to grow on site. Yes.
Site.
Yes. Yes, Vita, you're saying?
Yes, I was saying that the visitors, you know, they're so used to seeing roses and other things, so you find that they would like to see something of a difference. Hence the reason they would go more for the gingers and the heliconias and the anthuriums. The locals would more go for the, you know, the imported flowers.
I see. Your market locally, apart from the hotels, where do you all market? I know sometimes you go by the market and you also have your plans, but apart from that, where you all market?
Well, the hotels like Windjammer, we have the restaurants.
Okay.
Yeah, with the restaurants.
So, are you saying that you all, to keep the Floral Society going, the cooperative going, to keep you all, you know, on the move, the local market will not be sufficient. You all need to export. And so, where are you all now with that?
Okay. With export, as I said, we are actually working with the Trade and Export Promotion Agency. In fact, they are, in effect, actually mentoring us to ensure that when we actually get into that export market, you know, full-fledged, that we'll be able to sustain the market.
Okay.
For instance, one example is that they're helping us with rebranding ourselves. They're helping us, again, we've had, and you're probably familiar with the packaging that we've had, and we've had this for quite a while.
Yes.
So that too is being redesigned, so that when you go out there, you can be distinguished among the many importers
so
in
you're
those
not,
countries.
are you all exporting now? I remember the last I heard, I remember farmers were bringing the ginger lily blooms at one spot where it was being selected, and of course being dipped. Yes, and it was being shipped to Martinique, I think.
And to the UK.
What's happening?
And Antigua.
Actually, what happens, I must say to you, we are a cooperative, and by definition, we are owned by the members. The members individually can export. In fact, some of our bigger members sometimes can get an order for a box or two, and they would choose, because it may be the more economical thing to do, particularly within the region. You know, an example is Antigua, where there is perhaps the more continuous trade among some of our members. In terms of, as you said, in terms of exporting outside of the region, yes, BAF facility was actually done up for us so that it can be that central location where we can package, select and package for export. At the moment, actually, even as we speak now, we were supposed to have been exporting 30 boxes of our flowers to Canada. But in fact, up to yesterday, I got a call from the individual who in turn said, well, his contact in Canada said, boy, the season, at this time of the year, things have already taken a dip. So he's looking at, for instance, September, perhaps, September, October. So the iron is relatively warm, the iron's relatively hot, particularly as it relates to the Canadian market. We have someone who's actively on the ground, sourcing different, speaking with different contacts.
But do you all have a marketing strategy, do you all have somebody who is looking for markets out there? I'm saying so, for example, we have the embassies out there.
That's what I was
okay?
going to
And I'm wondering
mention,
whether that's an avenue, a conduit that you all can use to actually market your stuff. We also have Windfresh, that a ship leaves here every week to go to London, and they need to at least to pack up that ship with goods leaving St. Lucia. Can there be some dialogue with Windfresh to ensure that you all get a market up there so you can ship on a weekly basis? If you all get it and you all get a huge market, can you all use the banana marketing formula that if St. Lucia cannot reach that demand, say a container a week, can you all speak to Grenada, St. Vincent, Dominica, and then to join with you all and market on a regional basis?
Yes. I think actually your first question in terms of using our external offices, definitely, and I indicated earlier, we are looking at the UK specifically as one example externally. And then we have this TIPA project, on Taste St. Lucia. That actually is being organized in London through the London High Commission office. So certainly from the point you're making, the office and government recognizes that these offices must be used to aid our development.
That's right.
So I think London is perhaps the first really coming off the block in that regard. I think what is different now, I can say to you, is that whereas before the Ministry of Agriculture specifically assisted, I know we have a marketing unit within the ministry, but as you know now that we have an agency like the TIPA, and given that we have spoken to, and there was this project on the commercialization of agriculture, the need to actually use the Ministry of Commerce as well as Agriculture in using their contacts, and even the tourist board with their external contacts as well, is something that is being done. Coming back to your other question.
Hold that point, we're running very fast and furious. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. We'll be right back, stay tuned.
Don't be negligent. Care for the environment. Keep away pollution. Care for the environment. Energy conservation. Care for the environment. When you making money. Care for the environment. Work with everybody, Papa say. Care for the environment.
Hi, this is Invader from St. Lucia. Practice good fishing habits. Stop the illegal sand mining. Don't dump waste in rivers, gutters, and watershed areas. Remember, your environment affects my environment.
When you planning, I say, care for the environment. Watch what you throw away. Care for the environment. Be intelligent, Papa beg. Care for the environment.
Welcome back to the program. In today's program, we're discussing cut flowers. And of course, Mr. Philogene, we're talking about marketing. And this is I think my passion, my concern. I don't know, like I said earlier, I coordinated that program from its onset in the ministry, and I have a passion for it. And I feel sad that sometimes I don't know where it's at, all the ups and downs. To me, it should be way up there. So I think your marketing needs to be strengthened. And that's why I mentioned Windfresh. So you want to comment on the Windfresh?
Okay, just before I specifically address Windfresh, can I just say, we recognize marketing was the key from the cooperative perspective. And a few years ago, we did a strategic plan and so on. So we have done things to guide us. And as part of the process along the way, one of the things we did was to actually seek through the Peace Corps office to have some Peace Corps volunteer with us to specifically address marketing. We've been fortunate in that we've had 2 Peace Corps volunteers, and the second one has just completed his stint with us. So it means that we've had in-house someone persons who were there to continuously addressing what some of the things that can, and marketing, as you know, is quite broad, and you could never cover everything. But I think what we have done is to begin to address and put in place some of the things and ensure that we address these things methodically.
Okay.
Coming back to your specific questions about Windfresh, I can tell you, I know we had spoken to, it may not even have been Windfresh, and that says how long we've spoken to them, because we recognized that was an avenue to
Mr. Lawrence.
Yes,
yeah, Mr.
Lawrence.
Yes. But I believe what we recognize now, and we are hoping that can be the basis of moving forward, is, and that is not strictly Windfresh, but there is, as you know, there's a fair trade concept. Now, fair trade is not only to do with bananas and all the coffee and all the rest, but there is fair trade flowers as well.
Okay.
So what we are looking at is to see whether we can brand we can get St. Lucia and maybe the sub-regional flowers branded as fair trade flowers, so we can be part of an agricultural process that exists, which some farmers are already in, and going ahead with what you're saying, using the shipping and other, not just shipping, but Windfresh, one of the things it has on the ground are the contacts.
That's right.
And fair trade is about selling, as you would know, selling to supermarkets and so on. Windfresh too, that is the whole direction that it is going. So we recognize that is something that we must do, and we are.
Yes, Vita.
You know.
Yes, what I had to say was we, the Floral Society, saw it was fitting for the importance of marketing, and we had a meeting with Mr. Lawrence at the time. He was working with Deco, and to work along with them so that they could do the exportation to seek markets for us in England, and I mean in Europe, and he had to meet with Mr. Conibert, and every time, we could not get a response, we couldn't get a feedback, and we were trying to get in touch all the time, and we, up to a day like today,
Well, stats again.
Yes.
Stats.
So this is where we were at, this is what we have done, the steps we have taken to try to get there.
Well, add some fire to it, because I think that's the way to go. The ministry's involvement, I mean, like I said, the ministry started that program because they saw the need, right, that for farmers to get involved in cauliflower production. Okay, I know there were officers directly involved, working with the farmers in that area. Where is that assistance now, as we speak?
Perhaps this time I'll let Vita.
Vita, let's say it.
Well, at that point in time, there used to be, but right now they had to restructure the officers, and they end up doing all the crops and not specifying in any particular
specific crops.
Yes. This is where we
So
are.
So an extension officer will not assist you all technically in your agronomy of cauliflower production, no?
Well, if they are called upon, I suppose they will give assistance, but there is no specific.
Okay.
But
do you all see the need?
Oh yes, I think
there is a need for somebody. Like, for example, they have the cocoa growers. There's somebody specifically for these persons. Even the pineapple, you understand?
Yes,
so we are looking forward in getting some sort of assistance in that manner.
Yeah, but why you all are looking for? But have you all gone out there and seek that assistance?
Well, we have had meetings with the officials.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think we, as Vita said, we have had and we have written to the ministry. I think the ministry too recognizes that the officer who actually was responsible has gone abroad, and that officer has not been replaced. I think from the time the project started up to the time, I think a year or so ago, when the officer who was assigned to cut flowers left, there had been someone whose specific responsibility agronomically for cut flowers. So I think it goes without saying that the need is recognized.
Have you all, I mean, for example, the Taiwanese are here. I mean, they're into tissue culture. They're into the production of orchids. are you all working in tandem? Are you all getting assistance from them for the way forward? What's happening?
Actually, we have had meetings with them, asking for their technical assistance, right? And even to assist in housing the organization, which they said that they would look into it at Union. But there's something, Angus?
Yeah, there's no doubt that we work closely with the Taiwanese, the tissue culture unit. But as you know, how the relationship between organizations, and I think sometimes one isn't clear how to go about it. For instance, at one stage I know the way we were told is that one had to actually go through the particular ministry, which we did, because we had written directly to the Taiwanese. But having said that, though, we actually work closely with the tissue culture unit to the extent that we have had training programs at Union with them. They have had training programs where we have been part of the whole process too, where we mobilize our members and so on.
Even the displays, we have participated.
Yeah. So there is a relationship. I think having said all that, though, there's no doubt there can be a better relationship.
Of course.
I think I can say to you, because I was part of the delegation, local delegation. Some time ago, there was a Taiwanese delegation who came down assessing the cut flower industry, where they went around visiting, farmers as well as the users, the hotels and the florists and so on. And I know out of that came back a report which is meant to determine where the industry goes with the Taiwanese assistance. The actual implementation of that program, I mean, I can say to you, the cooperative, floral cooperative really would like to see it come about sooner rather than later. We believe at this point in time there may be an issue as far as the Taiwanese wanting a market study to be undertaken. But we don't know exactly where it's at.
Okay, I think there's so much to be discussed. I just figure that you all need to be more visible. All right, more active. I think you'll need to dialogue more with the ministry to get some technical assistance to continue your program, to take it to the next level. I think I want to thank you for coming to the program. I hope to bring you all here again, and hoping that you all will come with more vibrant, as a vibrant society, and to move forward. So, viewers, I would like to thank you for viewing this program. I want to thank the staff of NTN and GIS for assisting in producing that program, and of course, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Production, Fisheries, and Rural Development. Until then, remember, agriculture is our business. I'm Phillip Sydney saying goodbye and see you again. Thanks again.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.